I remember the day they laughed at me like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the cramped corner of my childhood room, clutching my battered sketchpad, while my family gathered in the living room, shaking their heads, smirking, exchanging sneers. "Painter?" my father scoffed, voice dripping with contempt. "That's a joke, right? You're wasting your life on that nonsense." My mother rolled her eyes, whispering to my sister, "He'll never make it. It's embarrassing for us to have a kid who's so deluded." They told me I was dreaming too big, that I was chasing something foolish, something that would never pay the bills, never bring respect. They called it a childish obsession. My family, the pillars of pragmatism, saw my passion as a stain on our reputation, a shame to be hidden away. I remember feeling small, suffocated by their words, but deep inside, a fire ignited. I refused to let their mockery define me. That night, I packed my few belongings, an old laptop, a battered sketchbook, and a heart full of defiance, and I left. I promised myself I'd prove them wrong. I'd become the artist I knew I was meant to be, even if I had to crawl through hell to get there. The journey was brutal. I slept on couches, worked dead-end jobs just to buy paint and software. Every rejection, every failed project, every "you'll never make it" was a dagger. But I kept going. I poured everything into my art, into my game development, into my weird little startup, whatever it took to keep that dream alive. Years passed. I faced hunger, loneliness, despair. But with each setback, I learned. I grew. I refused to be broken by their words. Slowly, the world started to notice me. Small exhibitions, indie game awards, viral videos that propelled me forward. I built my reputation from nothing, fighting every step of the way. I became someone I could be proud of. And then, finally, I made it. My work was celebrated. My name was on billboards. I was no longer the laughingstock. They were. My success was a middle finger to every doubt they ever cast. One evening, I decided it was time. Time to return home, not just as a stranger who made it, but as someone who had reclaimed his worth. I stood outside the house I once knew, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. This was the moment of reckoning. I walked through the door, my eyes catching the familiar clutter. The faded wallpaper. They looked up, surprised, uncertain. My father's jaw tightened. My mother's eyes widened in shock. I knew what they saw. The kid who left with a dream, now a stranger in his own home. Then I turned to face them with quiet confidence. "I've come back to show you what your doubts couldn't destroy," I said, voice steady. I pulled out my latest game, an immersive, award-winning masterpiece, on my phone. I watched their faces change as they saw the world I had built. My art, my vision, my success, it was right there in their hands. My father's eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen in years, respect. My mother's lips parted, her face trembling. I saw the shame, the regret, but also something else, pride. I had faced their ridicule and turned it into a legacy. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. My work spoke volumes. I had proved that the ridiculous dream wasn't foolish. It was prophetic. I had fought through rejection, loneliness, and despair, and I had emerged victorious. That night, as I stood in my childhood home, I realized something profound. I had become more than just successful. I had reclaimed myself. I had shown them, and the world, that dreams, no matter how wild or mocked, are worth fighting for. And in that quiet, powerful moment, I knew I had finally arrived as a creator, but as a man who refused to be broken by doubt. I was no longer the kid they laughed at. I was the proof that persistence, passion, and unwavering belief could rewrite your story. I had returned, not to seek approval, but to claim it. And I did.